Have you ever wondered how a single tree could save an entire colony from disappearing forever? Today we meet the most famous tree in all of Connecticut, the mighty Charter Oak. This incredible true story takes us back to 1687, when brave colonists faced their greatest challenge. In the heart of Hartford, where autumn leaves danced like golden coins in the crisp October air, lived a community that refused to give up their freedom. We'll follow young Sarah Mitchell, a blacksmith's daughter with eyes sharp as her father's tools, as she witnesses one of the most daring acts of defiance in American history. Will the colonists find a way to protect their precious charter? Can a simple oak tree hold the key to their survival? Let's discover together what happens when courage meets cleverness under the starlit Connecticut sky. Every morning, 12-year-old Sarah Mitchell swept the wooden floors of her father's blacksmith shop, while the Charter Oak's massive branches swayed outside their window. The ancient tree stood taller than 3 houses stacked together, its trunk so wide that 6 people holding hands couldn't wrap their arms around it. Sarah loved how the tree's leaves whispered secrets in the wind, especially during Hartford's crisp autumn mornings when the air smelled of wood smoke and apple cider. Sarah's father, Thomas, hammered horseshoes and fixed wagon wheels for the good people of Hartford Colony. Each evening, she watched him carefully polish the metal, teaching her that the strongest things were often made through patience and fire. Their simple life followed the same rhythm as the seasons, predictable, peaceful, and protected by the royal charter that granted Connecticut colonists the right to govern themselves. But on this particular October day in 1687, Sarah noticed something different in the way the adults whispered nervously in the marketplace. Something was about to change their world forever. The trouble began when Sir Edmund Andros, the king's governor, arrived in Hartford with his red-coated soldiers. Sarah pressed her ear to the blacksmith shop window as her father and the other colonists gathered in hushed circles. Governor Andros demanded that Connecticut surrender their royal charter, the precious document that gave them the freedom to make their own laws and choose their own leaders. "Without our charter," Thomas whispered to his neighbor, "we'll be ruled like servants, not free people." Sarah's heart pounded as she watched her father's strong hands shake slightly. The charter meant everything to their community. It was their proof that they belonged here, that they had the right to live as free English colonists in the New World. The next morning, Sarah watched from her bedroom window as Governor Andros marched through Hartford streets with 20 armed soldiers. Their boots echoed like thunder on the cobblestones. The colonists tried reasoning with him, offering compromises and alternative solutions, but Andros refused to listen. "Hand over the charter by sunset or face the consequences," he declared, his voice cold as winter wind. Sarah's father and the other colonial leaders met secretly in the tavern, their faces grave with worry. They had spent decades building their community, establishing fair laws, and creating a place where families could thrive. Now everything they had worked for hung in the balance. The charter wasn't just a piece of paper. It was their children's future, their dreams made real. As the sun began to set, painting the sky deep orange and purple, Sarah realized the colonists had to make an impossible choice. They could surrender the charter and lose their freedom, or they could resist and risk everything, their homes, their families, their very lives. The tension in the air felt thick enough to cut with her father's sharpest blade. That's when Sarah's father looked directly at the Charter Oak and whispered something that would change history forever. The crucial moment arrived as candles flickered in the town meeting house. Governor Andros sat at the head table, drumming his fingers impatiently, while the colonists placed their precious charter before him. Sarah hid behind a wooden pillar, her heart beating so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The charter lay unrolled on the table, its official seals glinting in the candlelight. Suddenly, all the candles went out at once, plunging the room into complete darkness. In the confusion that followed, Sarah heard the rustle of paper and quick footsteps. Someone had grabbed the charter. Governor Andros shouted for his soldiers to light torches, but it was too late. When the flames illuminated the room again, the charter had vanished completely. "Where is it?" Andros demanded, his face red with fury. The colonists looked at each other with carefully blank expressions. Sarah's father stepped forward, his voice steady despite the danger. "Perhaps the wind blew it away, Governor. These old buildings can be quite drafty." Outside, Sarah could hear the charter oak's branches creaking gently in the night breeze, as if the ancient tree was chuckling at the clever trick. As Governor Andros stormed out with his soldiers, Sarah slipped outside and discovered the truth. There, in the charter oak's massive hollow trunk, lay Connecticut's precious charter, safely hidden where no king's governor could ever find it. The colonists had outwitted tyranny itself, and their beloved tree had become the guardian of their freedom. Sarah's breathing slowly returned to normal as she watched the red-coated soldiers march away into the darkness. The immediate danger had passed, and the colonists emerged from their hiding places like deer stepping carefully into a moonlit meadow. Her father found her by the oak tree, and together they listened to the gentle rustling of leaves that seemed to whisper, "Your secret is safe with me." In that moment, Sarah understood something profound about courage. It wasn't about being the strongest or the loudest. It was about being clever, working together, and never giving up on what matters most. She had learned that sometimes the smallest actions, like hiding a document in a tree, could create the biggest changes in history. The next morning, Hartford looked exactly the same, but everything had changed. The colonists continued their daily routines, but now they shared a secret bond. The charter oak stood proudly in the center of town, its trunk holding the key to their freedom. Sarah grew up to become a teacher, but she never forgot the night when a tree saved a colony. Every autumn, when the charter oak's leaves turned gold and crimson, she would tell her students about the courage that lives in ordinary people who refuse to give up their dreams. And from that day forward, whenever children in Connecticut felt afraid or powerless, they would remember that sometimes the greatest victories come not from fighting, but from being clever, brave, and working together. The charter oak's secret reminds us that freedom is worth protecting, always. The greatest treasure wasn't the charter itself, but the courage to protect what matters most. We all have moments when we feel small and powerless, when big problems seem too difficult to solve. Next time you feel overwhelmed, remember Sarah and the colonists who discovered that clever thinking and teamwork can overcome even the mightiest challenges. You have the same courage and cleverness inside you. Sometimes the smallest actions, like hiding something precious, speaking up for what's right, or working together with others, can create the biggest changes. What would happen if you used your creativity to solve problems instead of just worrying about them? Tell us in the comments. What would you have done to protect something important to your community? Have you ever had to be clever to solve a difficult problem? Share this story with someone who needs to remember their own courage. Don't forget to like and follow @Inglo Stories